Okay, so like I was telling my class right now, so far we've used our calculator to provide things like finding the x-intercepts for the zeros and finding the axis of symmetry for parabolas. Today we're going to learn how to do all that stuff without a calculator, or at least most of it, okay? So this time we're going to start out slow. What if they just give us the picture of the parabola? Can you just look at the picture, if it's a nice picture, at least a detailed picture, can you pull out the information to find the zeros in the axis of symmetry? So what do you guys think? What do we have for zeros of that first parabola?
6.
6. Aren't there usually 2 zeros for most parabolas that we've been finding?
Usually that's only when it's
Usually.
a coefficient.
Oh yeah, that happens sometimes. Sometimes when you have a positive coefficient, it happens a lot too. Why does this one only have 1 zero?
So it just barely touches the line lines.
Exactly, it just barely touches the axis. It's kind of a rare case, but actually it's a really important rare case. And we'll study that a little this year and a little next year. So for the zeros, I think we can already go ahead and write that down. There's just 1 on this, 6. And actually, a preview of future stuff, there's actually 2 zeros here.
Is it y?
That's not a 0. A 0 is an x-intercept. There's actually 2 here. 6 just happens twice. That's what a bounce actually means in polynomial land. If it touches but doesn't go through, if it bounces, it actually means it happens twice. Now, it's not going to matter for a while, but I'm just telling you, so it's stuck in your brain. Okay, so the zeros is just 6 on this one. What do you guys think for the axis of symmetry? Where should I draw my mirror image thing? Well, I know, I kind of made this part go up higher. I shouldn't have, but right here, right? This time, I think the axis of symmetry goes right through the 0. So the axis of symmetry on this one, you can't just put 6 though. What do you have to put with it? X equals 6, because that means this vertical line. 6 means 6, which could be here or here, right? But x equals 6 means the vertical line where everything is 6. You got to remember that's the vertical line equation. Okay? So that's it for that one. Let's look at this other graph. So what do you guys think? Zeros on this one? Careful on the scale.
-8, -4.
Did I spell zeros wrong again? Yeah, it's like something my brain cannot comprehend, how to spell zeros. I don't know. Okay, so you guys said, I heard one answer. One of the zeros on this one is -8, -4. Pretty easy to read them off a graph. What do you guys think for the axis of symmetry this time? So you're saying it's right here?
Yeah.
That's the mirror image then, Colton?
That's no, it's -4.
It's got to go through the vertex, right? So the axis of symmetry here, yeah, is x equals -6. What's the actual vertex? They didn't ask us that in this problem, but I mean, if we wanted it, we should be able to read it off. It's right there. I think 2. There we go. Okay, so we're going to find the vertex without a graph, because like someone outside is giving us this graph in a second. I think some of these problems actually ask you to check your answer as well. So they give you the equation and say check your zeros. They say check your zeros and see if they're actually 0. Are they actually x-intercepts? So first you need the equation. So let me see, I'm going to think in my head about what the equation for this one is. I think this parabola is, let's see, so I'm going to erase this stuff. This parabola is x squared minus 12x plus 36. Where am I pulling that from? Because I know how to look at parabolic graphs, okay? So how do we check it? So that's the parabola. Let's call it, give it a name, f of x. Fix this. How should I check my 0? What was our 0 on that first problem again? 6. So to check it, I should plug it in, right? So if we plug in 6, what do we get? F of 6. 6 squared minus 12 times 6 plus 36. Might need your calculator. What's 12 times 6, guys? 60 plus 12, 72. 36 and 36?
Cancel each other.
72. Check. It was a 0.
Checkmate.
Okay, that's confirmation right there. So you need to make sure you check these when it asks. All right, over here we had two answers to check. First, I need to be given the parabola. So let me think for a second here. Okay, so we also wanted to look at this graph, this parabola. We already looked at it and agreed that the zeros were at -8 and -4, and the axis of symmetry was right down the middle at x equals -6. Okay, so that's that vertical line. That's the axis of symmetry right down the middle. So on this one, we also want to check our answers. So first of all, you need to be provided the graph. And I wanted to make a note. As soon as I'm done with this problem, I'm going to write down the actual parabolas for a couple problems, because if you don't bring the hard copy of the book home, for some reason on the electronic copy, they left off the parabolas. You need to check them on a couple problems. So I'll fix that up for you in just a second. So the parabola that you're going to have here, I'm just going to write it down, is -1/2 x squared minus 6x minus 16. So you can see it's negative in front, so that's turned over. I'm not going to show you where I got that from. I tried to do that with my class today, and it got a little confusing and beyond their abilities. So there it is, it's given to you. All right, so we're going to plug in and verify that these are actually the zeros. So I'm going to go g of, well, first -8. So I'm going to plug that in. So -1/2, -8 squared minus 6 times -8 minus 16. All right, so let's simplify, follow order of operations, right? Go inside first, then inside parentheses, then exponents. So -1/2, negative squared is positive. Negative times negative is positive. Multiplication next, half of 64 is 32, -32. I'm going to put these together, that's -48 plus 48, which is indeed 0 like it was supposed to be. So that must have been a correct 0 for this algebraic parabola. All right, so then I'm also going to check the -4, so this is the way you should be doing it in your assignment. Plug in -4, so I'm looking up there. I'm going to say -1/2, -4 squared, put it right here as well, and simplify. So negative squared is positive 16, that's positive 24, half of 16 is 8, -8, that and that is -24, so I think it cancels out just right again, and we get 0, which is what it was supposed to be if this was truly a 0 for this parabola. So I'm going to go grab those problems that you need for yours. I'll write them down just in case a couple are missing if you're using the electronic text. Okay, so the only other kind of problem you're going to have in here, besides like looking at a graph and pulling the zeros off the graph and checking them like we just did, and pulling the axis of symmetry and vertex off a graph, is what if they just give you the algebra, like I was trying to invent a second ago for that one, but no graph, and they still say find the zeros and find the vertex. So they're going to start out real easy on you. The only thing you have to do in this section is just find the vertex if you're given the algebra of the polynomial. Okay, so how do you find it? Well, there's a nifty little formula to find it. So I'm just going to tell you what that is today. Later we'll go back and see why this works the way it does. But we need the quadratic formula first. So, how do you find the vertex? Here it is. Got to memorize this. It's really, really long. That's where the vertex always is for a parabola. You just take the b coefficient, negate it, take the negative of it, divide by 2a, that's the x-coordinate of the vertex. And since the vertex is always where the axis of symmetry is, you just found that too.
Whoa.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So to find the y-coordinate of the vertex, you go and plug that in. So whatever that ends up being, once you plug it in, that's the y-coordinate of the vertex. So let's do that, and then we'll sketch this graph. We're not going to make it perfect, but we'll sketch it. So where's the vertex for this one, this parabola? We're going to say, all right, x equals, what's b? 6. So -6. What's a? -3. 2 times negative 3. For this parabola, that's negative b over 2a. So then what you've got to do is say, well, simplify. What's that cancel to? And there you go. I found two things when I did that. I found the axis of symmetry, and I found the x value of the vertex. So let's start drawing. So if we go over here, we can start drawing this parabola right now. We can say, all right, the axis of symmetry, it's at 1. There you go. I know this parabola is mirror imaged around that. You guys tell me, is it going to be an up parabola or a down parabola?
There's negative.
A is negative. That means it's a down parabola. So we already know. It's going to be like this maybe, or like this, somewhere on that line. I've just got to find the y value to lock it in, okay? So to find the y value, I take 1 and I do what with it?
Plug it in.
Yep. So I'm going to go y equals negative 3 times 1 squared plus 6 times 1 minus 7, and simplify carefully. So some of you guys are still making mistakes with negative numbers and stuff. You got to stop doing that. I don't know what to tell you. So you've got your calculator to assist you if necessary. Negative squared is positive. Negative cubed is negative. That kind of thing. Be careful. So this is negative 3 times 1 plus 6 minus 7. It's negative 3 plus 6 minus 7. I'm going to put these together first. Negative 10 plus 6. So I got negative 4. So that tells me pretty much where to put my parabola. So this guy's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 right there, going up or down? We agreed down just a second ago. So does this thing have any zeros? Totally not, right? It's not crossing. This won't have any zeros. So that means you already know something about the parabola. Does it factor? No, because factors are what's going to give us the zeros. We'll do that next week. Okay? You guys want to do one more? I think you're good. Should we do one more? All right. Seems like we'll do one more. All right, so I thought we'd look at one more parabola. This parabola, we have its algebraic form again, and we're going to sketch it by first finding its vertex. So a second ago, we learned that to find the vertex of a parabola, we look at x equals negative b over 2a. So what is b for this parabola? Well, b is the coefficient attached to x, remember? So that's going to be negative from the formula, and there's also a negative b on this one. So it's actually going to turn positive. And then 2a in this case is this one coefficient attached to x squared. C, of course, is negative 10, which we don't need to find the vertex. So I'm going to simplify. Negative times negative is positive. It's 2. So we get that the vertex of this parabola occurs at 2. So I can go ahead and start drawing the parabola, because now I know not only the x part of the vertex, but I also know the line of symmetry of the parabola is the vertical line at 2. I'm going to draw my parabola, my axis of symmetry going at 2. And now I want to ask myself, is this parabola facing up or down? Well, I think we've learned already that if a is positive, in this case it's positive 1, the parabola is going to be facing up. So we know that the parabola is going to be something like this or like this. It's going to be in one of those locations and facing up. So how do you know exactly where it is? Well, you need to find the actual vertex, not just the x coordinate. So take 2 and plug it in. So I'm going to do that. I'll do it in red. So I'm going to say f of 2. If I put 2 into my parabola, what do I get? Well, it's going to be 2 squared minus 4 times 2 minus 10. The order of operations, of course, exponents first. And then I did the multiplication after that, and now I'm going to add together the like terms. That's negative 18 and 4. So that's going to be what? Negative 18 plus 4 is going to be negative 14. So my vertex is 2, negative 14. So negative 14 is going to be like somewhere down here. I'll just say it's like right there. And my parabola is facing up. If you want to know a little bit more, next week we're going to be graphing these with all of the features. You can also do the y-intercept. So I challenge you to pause the video and think about what's the actual y-intercept of this parabola right now. Okay, so the y-intercept of the parabola is where it hits 0, x equals 0. So if you plug 0 in, it's really simple. You get nothing, nothing, negative 10. So that says it crosses right here at negative 10. So there's negative 14. Okay, so there's a parabola using the vertex formula, x equals negative b over 2a. Make sure you memorize that as quick as possible, and when we get further into parabolas, we'll look at where that came from. See you next time.